In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
But I do ask every publisher, every editor, and every newsman in the nation to re-examine his own standards and to recognize the nature of our country's peril. In time of war, the government and the press have customarily joined in an effort based largely on self-discipline to prevent unauthorized disclosures to the enemy. In times of clear and present danger, the courts have held that even the privileged rights of the First Amendment must yield to the public's need for national security. Today, no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger, and yet no war has been declared. No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent.
Time to recognize that we've come to a turning point. We're threatened with an economic calamity of tremendous proportions, and the old business-as-usual treatment can't save us. Together, we must chart a different course. We must increase productivity. That means making it possible for industry to modernize and make use of the technology which we ourselves invented. That means putting Americans back to work, and that means, above all, bringing government spending back within government revenues, which is the only way, together with increased productivity, that we can reduce and, yes, eliminate inflation.
The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Hello and welcome to Inform America. Hosting today is myself, Rich Merritt, along with Pat Murphy. Before we get started on the contents of the show, I wanted to mention the Boston Broadside again because they're highlighting a couple of cases. Janet Del Fuco's case, which a lot of people in New Hampshire are familiar with. If you're not, check them out on the Boston Broadside. It's a disgrace and a sham. She's suing, the Attorney General, Facebook, a bank, several different people. And I hope she's successful completing that, but we'll see what's happening. The other thing is Dan Rashad filed 2 remonstrances, submitted them to the House here in New Hampshire, and the House totally ignored both of them. That's under the, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name. It's Article 31 and 32, and the name escapes me, but it's redress of grievances. And it's basically a formal protest of what they're doing. It's supposed to be addressed immediately. They ignored it both times. Once last year, once about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. Anyway, check out the Boston Broadside, see what happens with that. The NationalLibertyAlliance.org, another organization that's trying very hard to restore the rule of law. Without the people in this country, it won't happen. It's real simple. It's your country, it's your government, it's your law. If you don't get behind restoring the rule of law, we don't have anything. Please check them out, NationalLibertyAlliance.org. And again, I'll ask you people if you would support my book, Stand Your Ground. It's simply something that I'm proud of, by the way, because I stood up to corruption on an international level, and I beat him. I don't mean I beat him. I had help. It wasn't just me. but we beat them. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. You just have to stand up. That's all you have to do, stand. So if you'd like to support my book, I'd appreciate it. You can find the link up on the screen. And the contents of the show is going to be about gun confiscation again, because Pat and I happen to believe that things are heating up just a bit too much, and there's cause for concern in here. So the first thing that I would like to do is put up on the screen 18 U.S. Code Section 2381, which deals with treason. And Pat, I don't know if you want to read along with that.
Okay, I'll read it. Whoever, owing allegiance to the United States, levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason, and shall suffer death or be imprisoned not less than 5 years, and fined under this title but not less than $10,000, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States.
I wonder who they're talking about where it says holding any office. Could that be politicians?
I think you got quite a few to choose from.
Yeah, bureaucrats, politicians, appointees, whatever you want to call them. The second thing I want to put up, and it goes along with this treason, is Carl Miller talking about treason and what the penalties are.
We're not going to put up with that stuff. We want you to understand that real clearly. The second way we can do it is, if necessary and proper, our militias can come together and decide to tell these people that are giving aid and comfort to the enemies of our country by breaking down our laws that you have broken the law of Title 18, United States Code, Section 2381, which says that in the presence of two witnesses to the same overt act or in an open court of law, if you fail to timely move to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and honor your oath of office, you are subject to the charge of capital felony treason, and upon conviction you will be taken by the posse to the nearest and busiest intersection and at high noon hung by the neck until dead. The body to remain in state until dusk as an example to anyone who take their oath of office lightly. You see, without that oath of office, this Constitution is worthless. That's why we have you take that oath of office, so that we know you will honor this oath of office and that you will keep our Constitution. We don't want anybody taking our Constitution away, and we're here to tell you right now, don't do it. We'll take a dim view of it. We probably will charge you, and we're not fooling around. Okay?
All right, if we can go into the second video right away. You'll see why we're bringing this whole situation up, I believe you will anyway.
To do, okay? Now, the bottom line of this Constitution is it's all in writing. It clearly represents a contract. I'm asking you to learn your contract. I'm asking you to learn the book. Learn your contract. I mean, when you go to some place to do some work on your car, you read the document that comes with it for the warranty, don't you? Why? Because just in case something goes wrong, you want to be able to bring it back, right? Well, I'm asking you to read the warranty on your Constitution so that you can understand the rights that you have under that Constitution. So that if you don't get it right, we can bring it back. Does that make sense to you?
All right, so that's why we keep hopping on the Constitution and telling people to read it. If you don't understand it, how do you know what your rights are? How do you know they're being taken from you? And I just want to add one more thing in terms of what you just saw. If you're warring against the Constitution, you're warring against the people, because that's the people's law. That's common law. State or federal doesn't matter. It's common law. So warring against the people, and those people are your employers. They pay you. They pay for everything. We're paying for our own demise right now, but that's another story.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Pat, you want to pick up on it?
Yeah, we've been watching what's going on in Virginia, and things seem to be coming to a head. And you have a government that's totally out of control in the personage of Ralph Northam, and in particular his Attorney General. And I don't think there's any question whatsoever that what they're doing is a violation of both the state and the federal Constitution. And as most of us know, when you pass a statute that's very clearly in violation of the Constitution, that law has no force whatsoever. These are particularly egregious because they're pitting supposedly National Guard, probably policemen against their own neighbors and next of kin. So it's these guys are, to me, they're engaged in massive treason.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to add to that is we're dealing with, or we're aiming this, I guess, at Virginia, but there's a lot of other states contemplating this. There's a lot of other communists, I guess, around who are following Mr. Northam's, Comrade Northam's lead. Anyway, the only way to change the Constitution, state or federal, is through the amendment process. The legislature or Congress can't do it. It's right in the Constitutions. If you read it, you'd know that. It's in the Virginia Constitution as well. Since they're one of the 13 original colonies, I know that it's in there, and I haven't looked at it. But in New Hampshire, it's Article 5. It says that the legislature will make laws, orders, statutes, ordinances for the state. State and people aren't the same word. State means government. People means people. The reason they don't make laws for the people is the people are the ones who made this document, the Constitution. They ratified it. They make the law. The amendment process is found in Article 100 of the state constitution and Article 7 in the federal constitution. But in the federal constitution, 3/4 of the states have to amend the constitution. The Congress can't do it. So if the Second Amendment says you have the right to keep and bear arms and it shall not be infringed, that's exactly what it means. If the Congress enacts any law that infringes upon it, guess what? They're violating the law. It's repugnant, contrary, in opposition to the Constitution, and it means garbage.
We have the same problem in New Hampshire right now. In our legislature, it's rife with these radicals, and you watch these people; they are supremely ignorant and devious, and they've just passed red flag laws. They came in, they took the oath of office. The second later, they're ramming this thing right through to create a Gestapo and violate multiple parts of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, anything to do with due process. But what a lot of people have to think about, and this is true for the whole country, because these things are appearing all at once, and you can see that they seem to be coming from the same source and maybe financed by the same source, is that what they do is they isolate the police forces and they drive a wedge between the average man and woman and police. So to me, it's an attempt to demonize and eventually to destroy police forces. They become the bad guys. Now, hopefully in Virginia, because the police have taken an oath to the Constitution, the sheriffs have, that they understand this is something they don't want to carry out, forcible confiscation.
They don't have to either, and I'll just say this.
Absolutely not.
Because I said this before, and I'll say it again. The police are pivotal in maintaining, I don't know what you want to call, well, maintaining law and order. Not by following an unlawful order and being threatened by the idiot, and there's plenty of them around, the idiot that's given that order. Because the idiot that's given that order is violating the law. And what should happen is police or sheriffs or whomever should arrest him and put his ass in jail for violating the law. And if you guys out there, if you got unions, you better start talking to your unions and saying, hey, we're going to do anything about this? You pay union dues and you got money tied up. Let them have their lawyers fight this case for you if anything happens. Because I don't see how you can follow an unlawful order. And I'm not going to put you in that situation because they're threatening you with your job. I get it. But you haven't done anything wrong. And I will say this, 625,000 people died in the last Civil War with the population 1/10 of what it is today. If a civil war breaks out, and it may over this situation, how many do you think are going to die this time? It's unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. Because if the police stand up, and I can tell you, I'll just speak for me. I'll stand behind the police. If you're enforcing the laws, not unlawful ones, but lawful ones, I'll stand with you. You tell me, I'll be right there with you.
That's the right to keep and bear arms, naturally, you know. But what we're watching is a whole slurry of unlawful statutes being rammed right on through. And you're creating a real crisis situation in multiple states. And ironically, all at the same time, it just happened to happen. It's like they have the same attorney write this stuff up and put it out. And you watch how it's pushed right through committees, and good people, pro-Second Amendment people, are kept off of those committees. And I hate to say this, but this is true, but they're loaded with the female element in this state. It's just jammed right up. And it seems as though if you say, well, this is going to be good for the children, then the next thing you know, it's going to go through somehow. Seems to be on track.
It's
like
all
that.
good for the children. I don't want to get off the track, excuse me. But I know when you go up to speak at these committees, and I've been up there numerous times to speak on a lot of different issues, it's funny how they give you, your employer, their employer, people who pay them, and who they're representing,
Right.
3 minutes to talk. And you want to pick up on that, Pat?
Yeah, well, I've seen that in the past. And I think back to different parts of history. You think about collectivization in the Soviet Union, the way that went. It didn't go well initially for the communists, and then what you had was the OGPU would go into their town meetings, and they would come in with their leather coats, and when everybody was seated, they would come out and say, well, we understand that some people have some objections to going to the new collective farms. Why don't you stand up and tell us what those objections are? And naturally there'd be a silence because those people knew it was, that's a death warrant, basically, that you're signing. And so they would simply say, well, see, there, it's unanimous. You're starting to see some of the same things in some of the meetings, town meetings that we have, where the police will come in and they'll admonish the people that you have to do this, you have to do that. They deny the sovereignty of the people from the get-go with stuff like that.
Yeah, because they've changed.
It's disrespectful to the citizenry is what it is.
They've changed so many things over the years, though, deceitfully, through fraud and other means, that people don't realize what has happened. They've stolen your Constitution from you. It's there. It has to be there. Otherwise, the whole system would fall apart.
What's the one right that's spoken of in the birth certificate, the Declaration of Independence? What's the one right? It's the right to self-defense, throwing off tyranny. Is what it is.
Yeah.
And you look at Virginia, and there's a super huge history of it. I mean, it's central to everything in the founding of the nation. It's like the most important state with the genius that came out of that. But then the whole struggle to survive from Jamestown all the way up to the American Revolution for 150 years is nothing but the story of armed militias, where people have to be armed according to law to survive. And the funny thing is, when you look at any of the colonial militias, they're so similar in the language that they have and how they structure things and how they're going to be armed and how things will be supervised and then who will be in the militia and what age. It's like if you looked at New Hampshire, then you're looking at Georgia. It's great similarity in that. So in our Constitution, that militia is not created by the Constitution. It existed for 150 years. That's why there's no definition of it, is everybody knew what it was. It's a basic part of the Constitution. The president can call that out in times of insurrection, in times of invasion.
Yeah.
Trump has the ability to call that out. If they were invaded by MS-13 over the border, they would have their independent state commanders and send them right down to the border and say, have at it, light them up.
Well, it's my contention, and this, people can say I'm wrong about this, but in the Constitution, federal Constitution, there's 4 areas. One, it's the president and how he interacts with the militia. The other one is Congress. The third one is the governor. And the fourth one is the people. And it's my contention that all 4 of those entities can utilize the militia, especially the people, because in the Second Amendment in the federal Constitution, it talks about the militia and then goes on to talk about the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. If you infringe upon it, you just do it away with the militia. There is no militia.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you're going to do. And that's what they're trying to do. And I heard Governor Northam, and I'm sorry, but I'm tired of being nice to people who are communists, traitors. I'll say traitors. And when this guy says, there were 12, precious souls died. And yeah, like you give a damn. You piece of garbage, you. You're the same guy that wants to kill babies when they're born, and you want to talk to us about, it's precious people. You want to take the gun so you can kill even more. You're a piece of garbage.
Well, even in Germany, when Hitler took over in 1933, and they planned to euthanize people, anybody that wasn't physically fit or deformed or handicapped, called their T4 system, Tiergartenstrasse 4, because of its location. They kept that quiet. It was kept on the QT as long as they possibly could. And this guy out here is right out in the, that's how far down the rat hole this country has gone. Right out here talking about making a child comfortable, and the mother can decide, then they'll figure a way on how to exterminate the child. It's unbelievable.
The people won't wake up on, I mean, I'm talking generally here. I know there's a lot of people waking up and more every day, thank God. But what do you think they're going to do with the FEMA camps? You think they're saving them for Cubans? You know, if Fidel Castro, Fidel's dead, but his brother invades us, I don't know, Iran, North Korea. No, they're saving them for us. That's why they build them here. I mean, I've actually seen pictures of these places. They have I don't know what they're called. They hold 3 caskets in them. It's a liner, some type of a liner for a grave or caskets. And these FEMA camps are filled with them.
Well, you know, one of the things they got to talk about here, and you'll see this up here because I'm sure it's going to start in this state. We've got red flag laws now, and they've got the same virus is going right through the system, our system right here, our state legislature, as they have in Virginia. They have to begin to call our cities and our towns and our counties constitutional counties, constitutional towns, constitutional cities. The reason for that, when you use that term sanctuary, it's got a pejorative sound to it. It's like sanctuaries for illegal aliens are flying from the law. We're not flying from the law. We
are the
law. Are the law.
Yeah.
We want to save the law. We respect the law. So they should post each city and town as a constitutional district, city, village, whatever, that those coming in to disassemble that and tear that apart are a domestic enemy is what they are, and they need to do that. And because the language makes a big difference, I think.
No, it's a great idea, Pat, and if enough people see this show or share this show, maybe the term will catch on, because you're right, it should be constitutional cities, constitutional counties, states, whatever. And by the way, I applaud Oriskany County, because you told me about it.
It is in New York, yep.
Yeah, they stood, which is what needs to be done in this country. They stood and says, no, we're not following any laws that you people have there.
Yeah, the SAFE Act with Cuomo.
Yeah.
Cuomo, I'll tell you, what a bunch. It's amazing that those people have the power they have in that state, because it's basically a great state and it's a massive state, but that city's controlling everything. Yeah, Oriskany is a famous battle in the American Revolution. I used to teach my kids about this stuff, and there was an attempt to relieve Fort Stanwix, and the commander there lost his life, was shot through the leg, and took out his clay pipe and smoked it underneath a tree and directed the whole battle. Nicholas Herkimer, and died 10 days later when they cut his leg off. And it was just like, you look at some of these guys and what they fought for, and it's just, and we've lost all of that. You're losing all of your history now, and this is a big part of it, this Second Amendment stuff. Those militias, going way back, they used to teach history to their people. That's one of the things that they can do now if they organize these in every state where they let them fall into disuse, which they never should have done. They never should have done. You can actually teach some of the history because you know it's not being taught in the schools. That's where the Article 1, Section 8, Clauses 15 and 16 are so important in the body of the Constitution, dealing with the militia, that they can actually be proactive and it can do something to get us out of the situation that we're in. Whereas the Second Amendment, it kind of reacts, it acts like a shield. It blocks things that aren't supposed to happen. But the actual organization, having a physical organization where you meet, if you look back all the way up for 150 years, all the way up through the Revolution, through the signing of the Constitution, you were required by law in communities to belong to that. Yeah. Able-bodied men, so-called, was male. Now it would be women naturally would be incorporated into it, but they're able-bodied. Between a particular age, you have to have so much type of weapon, musket, and so much shot, so much lead, subject to inspection, fined if you don't have it. Those fines would go out to pay for additional stores of ammunition and shot, whatever they needed, and then musters, usually depending upon the area, 4 musters, 6 musters a year to go out practice. Yeah. Target shoot.
No, it's something that I don't want to say we should get back into, but it should have never, it's still law.
I'll say it.
It's still law.
I'll say it. They need to get back into it. They need to mutually support each other, support the law, support the Constitution. This state supports Virginia. There's tons of us. We watch this, and that's a great state in the history of this nation. The Southerners are unbelievable soldiers throughout the history of this country. My father fought with Southerners in World War II in the Pacific, in New Guinea. And I'll tell you, he had nothing but the highest praise for them. He said to a man, they were great. They were unbelievable soldiers.
Watch. There's actually, my brother turned me on to this. There's on YouTube. You can go to 1929 or 1930 Civil War veterans, and they're talking about things. And you watch these guys, and it's just incredible to see them talk about the Civil War. And they all said, like they were doing the rebel yell, and trying to jeep everybody up. I guess in battle it's pretty profound. Anyway, the Yankee troops jumped over the barriers and charged them, but charged them with their arms like this, and they were hugging them. And then later on, the rebels were saying, we never had any animosity to these people. It was just something we felt like we had to do.
All right.
There was no.
This whole thing.
It was crazy, killing your neighbors.
This whole thing that we're watching is run by elites. That's what this is. If you look at these militias within the United States and their potential to clean things up in conjunction with common law courts, everything coming out of the Ukraine where we see this massive, massive corruption, they need to eliminate all of these militias because it's, like I say, Trump can call on these anytime that he wants.
Yeah.
Absolutely can.
Well, I don't know. I'm asking people to share this video, especially if you know somebody in law enforcement, because it's up to the police to do the right thing. Enforce the laws, not some half-cocked order that a nitwit gives you who's trying to destroy this country. Enforce the laws. The people pay your salary. Yeah, this guy might sign the check. He might not sign the check. He might be your supervisor. What needs to be done is these people, the names of these people should be recorded in wherever, and they should be dealt with accordingly. I don't know what more to say about that. These people are communist. They're treasonous, okay? Tyrants. Call them what you will. Nobody's out there saying, oh, yeah, you got your Second Amendment. I shouldn't say nobody. But these people that are doing it aren't there to protect your rights. They're there to steal them from you. Now, I don't want to see, and I know I speak for Pat and a lot of people I know, I don't want to see anybody hurt with a gun, a knife, or anything else. It would be a great world if that didn't happen. But we don't live in a great, perfect world. Share this with the police. I would ask you to do that, please, okay? Thank you for watching. Thanks, Pat, for being on the show. And I guess we're out of time, so God bless you.